Good afternoon. This video is about how to connect Tableau to Totem, because Totem itself is not a BI tool. So, this instruction will be about Tableau. Power BI has some additional tricks, and there will be a separate video about it once we figure it out. For now, this video is about Tableau. But, first of all, I will be showing you how to configure PostgreSQL to allow external connections, and secondly, I will be showing you the features of SQL queries. They are also suitable for Power BI, but Power BI itself, when it connects to PostgreSQL, you need to install drivers separately and configure certificates separately. There will be a separate video about it. We are done with the introductory part, let's go. I have a test database, I have made a table here. This is a simple table, there are string fields, numeric fields, lists and arrays, key, values. In Totem these are labeled as rows. Next, we're going to connect externally from Tableau to this database. If you have all this on NetAngels, you cannot connect to the NetAngels database from the outside. If you are using a server and there is an ISP panel installed, then you need to go here to the database section, select your database, click User, select User, click Change and check the Remote Access box here. Next you can specify the IPs that will be accessed from. Zeros mean that they will be accessible from all IPs. Then click OK. The configuration will be saved on this ISP. No more settings will be needed. Next story. If you have Postgres installed on your Ubuntu, I'm going to open myself a manual. I have an SSH connection to this test server, on which this database is installed. So, what do we do here? First, we look for where we have the configuration file installed. And we get a path like this. I have etc. blah blah blah, Postgres, something there, conference. Copy it, well, and call it in Nano or any other editor. If you don't use servers a lot, please, Nano. Next here we flip down and look for the connection section. There it is, connections and authorization. And you'll have the default. It looks like this. So, it's commented out right here. And it says localhost instead of an asterisk. You change localhost to an asterisk. And you remove this comment here. So, you are saying that you are allowing external connections. You'll need to press Ctrl X, press yes and save. I can do that as well. The next thing we do, we open the pg_hba file. It's in the same path. So here's the only thing we need right here is pghba. Conference erase pg_hba. Conference. There it is. Scroll down. And scroll. And here we have this IPv4 local connection. I've already added this line here, which I've commented out now. You will need to add host all, that is base all, user, like all user, allow external connection like this 40 with dots, fraction 0, and put the MD5 method. You can copy it from the description here. There is a text description for all this. OK, press Save, Ctrl X, yes, save. Next, we need to restart the Postgres service. What do? We actually look at what it's called. Usually it's called Postgres, but you might have something exclusive. Here we look for, we have PostgreSQL here. And, accordingly, we execute the command, service PostgreSQL restart, because the settings of these external connections are applied only at server startup. Next, we need to check that it is running normally. Service, PostgreSQL status. Here we see that it is active. Everything is fine, green. And now we can check the connection from another server. Let me take my server. I'll go into the shell client. I've got PostgreSQL installed on this server too. And I've got PSQL. So, I can do what? I can take the IP of my server, replace 140 right here. The user I had there was Totem, so Totem is changed to the database user. And from here I can execute it. And it prompts me to enter the password for the database user on this remote server. If you have a connection that doesn't install, it will give you error information here. But it won't if you've done everything correctly. I did everything right. I can close this. Close it. We don't need this. We have an error here because we rebooted the server. Now it's all active again. Now before we run Tableau, we need to go and check its drivers. There is a link in the description. You go here, select PostgreSQL here, and select Windows there. I have Mac OS, for example. There was an instruction right here on what I need to do. Download, create a folder and put these drivers there. For Windows it says that everything should be in the package. But I recommend that you check initially before you plug that in. Okay, we can close this up. Now I'm going to launch Tableau itself. Here is, appropriately enough, my Tableau. We have PostgreSQL here. If not, you click More and select PostgreSQL here. Where is it? Here it is, PostgreSQL. I already have it here. We click here. And this is where you need to enter the domain. Port 5432. If you haven't changed it, it stays that way. Database. Accordingly, I have a user like this. You have your own user there, or Totem as well, if you did the installation according to the instructions. And here we enter the password. And use SSL, because if you don't, the data between your local machine and the server will go unencrypted and can be easily intercepted, including the password and other information. Click Sign In, and there we are, connected to the database. Now about the peculiarities of how PostgreSQL and specifically Totem is organized inside. So, first of all, let's look for this table, Tableau. There's a search right here. I'm going to search for Tableau. And notice that the table's address is not just a table, but first the schema is specified, and then the table through the dot. You have the schema specified right here. This is such a first feature of PostgreSQL. Already specifically Totem. Now, if we click on View Table, you'll see that the values inside are stored in a very specific way. And this is what it looks like. This is the value here. Inside in the database, these are arrays like this. And the SQL query has to be designed in a specific way so that we can get the data specifically in pure ABCD and so on. That's why the instructions give different examples of how it can be formatted. What we're going to need here is a custom SQL query. And I'm going to copy from the instructions, this one here. I'm going to take it off the screen. And let's do the following. We're going to select one of these. So, we're going to select first field. So, we don't have first field, second field, list field, row field called here. From Tableau, we'll select first field as field 1, second field as field 2. From here is exactly the schema, the point, the Tableau. And where is the second field? We have more than 20. And let me cover the first features here. So, a classic SQL query would look like this. That is, first field as field 1. We are using JSON B fields here. So we need to add a story like this. Hyphen, 2 herringbones to the right. Next, single quote, V, single quote, as field 1. Okay, let's give it a shot. And we have it here saying that something didn't connect. Because that happens. If you open it like this, for example, and then it's dumb for some reason, it doesn't fulfill our request. Let's try copying the whole thing again. Okay. And I ended up having to restart Tableau because that's it. It's stuck. So don't press any of these buttons. I don't know how to deal with this. Maybe Tableau has some information on the forums. Totem has nothing to do with it. Tableau just gets stuck when connecting to Postgres. Next, we always need a new SQL connection. That is, we connect the data ourselves. And once again, I copy our query here. Okay. And there they are connected. Update. It's working. In general, if you don't look in the table, everything will work. Now let's analyze the query itself. Here is edit. Let's see. Once again, this part, it says that we go inside the JSON B field and take the value from the key v, which is a value in Totem. Well, next here in commas, if you need a second field, you repeat the same thing. Next, we say here that the schema is a table. If the schema is going to have any of these characters in there, you'll need to put it in double quotes, right here. Keep that in mind, otherwise it will swear at connect. Next, we say here where. We need to say we want to take fields where field 2 is greater than 20 in value. And here's the second feature. Totem has numeric fields. These are the ones right here that are labeled as a grid. This is the numeric field. Here it is, number. And there's all the others. All the others are strings, and the numeric ones are numbers. And for Tableau, for the SQL query, if these are numbers, we need to put in quotes, like this, in brackets to be exact. Right here that here's the second field. We do it the same way. Here's this hyphen, double herringbone, v, next is a double colon and indicate that it's a numeric. And then like over 20. There is no such treatment for string fields. For example, let's take a query for a string field. For example, we take first field and second field, where first field is greater than v. But for string fields, ... the comparison value is specified in single quotes. That's important, otherwise it will swear. Okay, let's see. Well, here we've got greater than b. If we want to select rows by multiple values, for example, we want to take rows where first field equals b or f. You might not want to use the or construct here with specifying such a big one. You can say in here is this kind of construction, quotes, brackets, and lists in single quotes the values that we're comparing against. Let's try this. We should have b and f strings. Here they are, first field 1, b and f, and respectively in. Here are the other values. If you want to exclude, conversely, take all the strings that exclude some such values. Then we use this not in b and f construct. Okay, update. Here will be all the others except for b and f. Okay, now let me show you sorting. That is, we can sort the results. And there's a special feature on sorting. In terms of what we need to sort, here we sort order by, and here we're going to sort by string field. We specify the name of the field in the same way. We specify this herringbone and we specify in single quotes v, exchanging, if this is for string fields. If it's a numeric field, we'll also have parentheses here, double colons and an indication that it's numeric. Okay, let's give it a try. What we have here is a sorted CDFG. Now the next feature. If we want to sample empty fields, Totem has an empty field. It can be either null or an empty string. For Totem it's the same story, but for the database it's not the same story. So, the query code looks like this. We in where should specify that. Well here, in where we select the rows that first field, which in Totem are equal to empty. They can be from null. That's the first thing. And the second thing is, we say that our first field equals empty. Those are the single quotes right there. Totem uses double quotes there. But here in the query it's single quotes. And here we sort by the numeric field. That is, we say that we are sorting by the second field, but numeric. We want to output these values in reverse order. Update. And here we have a string where we have the first field equal to 0. Next, Totem has fields like these. These are lists. And here I have a list with values. I put it here as a field of the data type. But the same kind of fields of the multiply list type have the same view inside. And what is the peculiarity here? The peculiarity is that the value can be here. Here we have a 10. Here it is a string. And here, a 10 is a number. And for Totem it will be. If you make selections inside Totem, it is exactly the same. It glues both strings and numbers in such cases. It handles that automatically. In a SQL query, it has to handle that separately. Let's first look at how a query is done by searching. Here, for a value inside a list like this, it is done by including some value. That is, if we specify like this, we specify where list field, this is the whole thing. Note that there is no second herringbone. We specify only one herringbone. And then we say it, second herringbone, and we specify in single quotes a 10 through :JSON B. It's quite fancy. So, order, everything else is the same. Now we'll look, and we'll see, here we are searching on this field. We'll only see the string where tens is a number. If we want to be guaranteed to select all possible values, because it can be either a number or a string, completely different, it works the same way in Totem. You're going to need to use a query like this here to be sure. I'll remind you, by the way, I'm going straight from the methodology, copying them from the description. So, we do in quotes, we specify, here's the whole query we're going to have in quotes. And we say in the first one we want to include tens as a number. And in the second one we want to include tens as a string. In this case, we have double quotes and single quotes. And now we're going to see that we're going to have the result of two strings. One that had the tens as a string, and one that had the tens as a number. And another thing that happens is that we have a technical field right here. Now I will explain why this is important to us. And we have an array, a key, a value stored here. In Totem, it's called a row. And what we want to do is we want to get the actual value from inside this row. Let's do a query. Okay, what are we gonna do? We're going to get from the rows where the first field B and F. And now look, this is the row field. We have here the first hyphen, one herringbone, then in single quotes versus, then a hyphen, double herringbone, and we take the element, that is by the key. Here we have here K1 and K2, and we here after the second herringbone just say that we take K1 as K1. And then we do the same for K2 and say that we take its K2. And, respectively, where the lines B and F are. We look, and here we'll have for rows B and F, we'll have K1, respectively, and K2, there, 3, 4, and for the other row 9, 10. Why is this important? Because there are different types of tables in Totem. This one here we're looking at a simple table, which is similar to a table in a standard database. And then there are loops. And loops represent a simple table, but in which each row has internal tables attached to each row. And for these internal tables they are stored in a special way in Totem. You can get them using SQL queries. But even now I will not consider them here, because my brain will explode thoroughly. If you are a PostgreSQL and JSON B expert, you can do it. But the most progressive way to get data from inside the loops will be to get them from inside the loop into this technical field. Here we can make it visible only to the creator, the administrator. And here we can get the values from inside the loops in such technical lists and, accordingly, take them in queries in this way. And then you can create several different queries here. If you work with Tableau, you probably know about it. I don't know much about it. Let's try it. There's one like this. Well, we can create different queries. We can set relationships between them. This is not related to Totem, but to working with Tableau. And then you can see the Tableau instructions. That's probably all the features that you should know about at the start. And that's it. Enjoy using it. See you in the next videos.